How do you become a millionaire? The next step is that it comes from people who are in their 20s. You do need to start to think about who is your next investment that you're going to spend on. Set the realistic expectations. You want to be a millionaire in your 20s. Let's think about it then. Welcome to the A Players podcast. A Players, how are you all doing? Welcome to the episode. Now, think about this, right? I get asked this question quite a lot. How do you become a millionaire? And then the next step is that it comes from people who are in their 20s and they want to be a millionaire in their 20s. So I want to give you some examples today of how this has been possible. So first of all, think about a story of a millionaire that you know that could be in the media right now. Well, first things first is that most millionaires aren't influencers, right? So they're not out there doing the Instagram game, making podcasts and doing all this stuff. They're out there because they're in the passion of what they do, whether that be through making money through business, making money through real estate, making money through investments. Now, people think that they have to just pick one, but realistically, people who have become millionaires understand the foundations of what it really takes. Yeah, about building assets, about building cash flow. It's not about just finding that next magical thing to build a business from and say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm CEO of this. It's a combination of lots of things that's going on. It becomes a mindset. And if you actually study, I do a PhD exploring what makes millionaires successful, the psychology of it. If you actually study what has made these people very successful, is that there's a foundation underneath it of how they see the world. So I'm going to give some of that away today. First of all, I want to give you the story of, think about somebody who is in the media that everyone is aware of, especially if you're in your 20s and you're into fitness, is the story of Gymshark. Yeah, if you look at Ben Francis. So Ben Francis is a young millionaire. Did he make his millions in the 20s? I believe so. Look at his journey. If you start to study these people, you start to see what has actually made them successful. Now, everybody knows the brand Gymshark, and I used to also, I still am, into the fitness industry. And I remember going to something here in the UK, in Birmingham, and it was a fitness expo. And when I first saw the Gymshark brand, the logo was there. It wasn't as attractive as it is today. And he definitely got something going, something building, where it was working on the network. Yeah, his network started to, of influencers started wearing the brand, and it started to spread like that. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of it, and if Ben does listen to this, he'll probably be saying, hey, look, there's a different way of doing it. But this is the point, isn't it? You don't have access to all these millionaires, so you've got to work with what you got. Well, you can study what they're doing. You see, the result of what they're doing currently is only what you see as an outcome. You haven't seen the hard work and the grit that has been involved to get to that millionaire status. Now, if you break it down, just underneath that result stage, and you can start to look at, observe them, observe how they go about their day, how they act, where are they? If you follow them on social media, you can see that somebody may be in America at an expo at that time, or they may be traveling the world to see a customer. You can start to study their behaviors, okay? But underpinning all that as well, if you do get an opportunity to ever interview them or listen to a podcast with them or read their book, for example, or follow them on YouTube, then it's not just the behaviors you study. You start to think, you start to witness what their mindset is like. You see, the mindset drives the behavior. So if you go and look at Ben Francis, you'll start to see that he talks a lot about his network. Yeah, he talks about the people that he has around him. So he may be a young millionaire, but if you start to think about who he's hanging around, these are very successful people that have grown, that have grown great brands. Yeah. So it's not about doing it all on your own. Now, something on my journey I've found is that, especially if you listen back to the previous A Players podcasts, is about who do you need around your boardroom table. As you start to become a millionaire and you start to go up that level of your entrepreneur journey or executive journey, whatever it may be, you'll start to realize that you need great people around you. But Lewis, I don't have the money to invest in great people. You don't have the money to invest in great people yet. Yeah. And as you do need to start to think about who is your next investment that you're going to spend on. Yeah. Is it going to be somebody that has been there and done it before? Somebody who can help you with your mindset, somebody who can help you with sales, marketing, your operations. Yeah. What about if you're a single brand? Because that's what the A Players is all about, is you as an individual. Well, still, you need somebody to be your guide in marketing or mindset or reaching 100K, which is why you're listening to this podcast, or being a leader and making a more impact while you're listening to this podcast. So if you can't afford to have these people yet, think about Ben Francis. What has he done here? He's managed to get these people in because he's got the Gymshark brand and other things that I suppose he's up to as well. But it's not just about having the money to pay for these people. It's about having that vision to bring people on board as well. For example, a lot of wealthy people don't need the money. So what do they need? Yeah. So to think about it, maybe they want to do something for a bigger cause. Yeah. A charity. So what about if you built a brand that could also solve a bigger challenge in the world that people would want to con as well? So let's think about it then. You want to be a millionaire in your 20s. First things first, okay? We've spoke about who you need around your boardroom table. Yeah. If you can't afford those people and you're just starting out, that boardroom table, if you go back and listen to the episode, is also about who do you need to be around on social media? Who do you need to be around in your learnings? Who do you need to be around in your mindset? So, for example, when I was starting out, what was it now? I've been in business for 20 odd years, but when I really made that kickstart in my mid-20s, because early 20s, I was just like, oh, hey, look, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just following the path and see what happens. I knew I wanted something to happen. You know, I knew there was a vehicle there that one day I'd like to be a millionaire, but I didn't think it was possible. Okay. So the first things that you do is set the realistic expectations. Okay. Start hanging around the people and start reading the right stuff, listening to the right podcasts. So if you can't afford it, then you've at least got your circle in your mindset. You see, if I wanted to hang around Warren Buffett, for example, yeah, then I'll just go, okay, I'm going to read Warren Buffett's books. What's happening there is just setting the mindset of Warren Buffett into your brain. And you can then turn around and go, what would Warren say right now if he was advising me? You see, look, it's not like you got Warren in the room with you, but it does after you study them. You can start to have that person around your mental boardroom. So setting realistic expectations is number one. So if you want to make a million, then realistically, you got to think about what is possible by when. Okay. We talk a lot about direction of travel. In the previous podcast, we spoke about start with the end in mind. Let's say it is a million. Well, is it making a million as a business? Because a lot of business people that you see on social media are talking about their income as their business revenue. Now, this isn't wrong. This is wrong because the revenue of a business that they own doesn't make them a millionaire. Okay, the EBITDA of that business and the multiplier of what they could add to that business or multiply to that business and what they could sell for as an asset is what would make them a millionaire. If they can sell that business that they own, then technically they own, let's say, the EBIT was a million and it had a 3 times multiplier on that business, it would be 3 million. So you'd own a £3 million asset, okay? Just like people that own a house, they could have nothing in the bank and then they could actually own a £1 million house. That would make them a millionaire. Okay. So you've got to really define what the expectation is here of what is a millionaire in your mind. Otherwise, you'll be chasing the wrong dream. So, secondly, about setting expectations about being a millionaire is by when? Yeah. When do you want to do it by? Because people think, and it's always been the same, I'm not just going to point fingers at Gen Zs, is that they can just do it overnight. Okay. People really, really overestimate what they can do in a year. Yeah. But they underestimate about what can be done within 10 years. So Brian Tracy, I mean, he's not as big now because there's so many social media influencers in the world, but Brian Tracy wrote a great book on this. And what he said, I remember reading this probably about 12 years ago. No, maybe less than that, maybe about 10 years ago. And it says in the book that it takes people 10 years to actually make a million out of the profession that they stick in. Okay. Not just the profession they stick in. You see, the million doesn't just come from one job. It comes from multiple streams. You can do it in one job, but it's a lot more difficult. Okay. I'll talk about that in a while. But what Brian Tracy says is that if you're going to actually become a millionaire in anything that you do, it takes 10 years. Okay. It's a bit like a aeroplane taking off. Yeah, it needs acceleration, acceleration, acceleration. And eventually it starts to gain altitude and then it can launch. Yeah. So it's a bit like a J curve. Okay, we call this the law of critical mass, by the way. What tends to happen is that it keeps you keep accelerating, 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 and then you take off. So just remember, you've got to set some realistic expectations here. Is it a 10-year goal? Right. And the problem here is that people are watching this video or watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, and they're going, hey, look, I'm already 25. So what you're saying here is I can't be a millionaire in my 20s. Well, does that really matter? Yeah, you can start. And as you start to progress, it'll be interesting to see if that million goal still means anything to you. So setting strong, realistic expectations is really key here. Millionaire by when? What are the increments? And when you do start to achieve your first 100K, 200K, is that burning desire still there for you to achieve a million? You got to ask yourself these questions. Thank you for listening to the podcast so far. A quick reminder that the A Players podcast and community remains free. The reason we do this podcast is because I believe that a great question to ask is, what advice would you give your younger self? For me, I wish I had a guide that showed me the exact steps to reach 100K a year in any job, and how much my life would be accelerated if I'd cut through that noise and just focused on those steps. We do not run ads or endorse sponsors because it is our mission to give back and share with you, the listener, knowledge gained from working with highly successful individuals and extensive research in management science, so that everyone has access to tools that can accelerate their income and give them the opportunity to step into wealth. In line with allowing us to achieve that mission, we ask that you think about, how did you end up on this podcast today? Maybe it was through finding it on YouTube or Spotify or word of mouth. So please help feed forward by subscribing to the podcast, and also share this podcast with another leader like you that you feel this podcast could really help out in helping them increase their personal income too. Let's get back to the show. So number 3, building a strong foundation. So building that strong foundation, again, go back to the boardroom table. Okay. How have you got the support? Yeah. If you can invest in people, great. If you can hire people as you become a CEO, entrepreneur, even better. But first things first, when you're starting out, is how do you set the right foundation? Who do you need around your mindset, your boardroom table that's in your mind? Okay. So if you're going to be a millionaire, and let's say you figured out your path. And by the way, if you don't know your path to how to become a millionaire, then DM me. And that's what I do, is I help people break through to become very high income earners. So you got to figure out your path first. And then who do you need around that path? Okay. So do you need somebody who's a great mindset expert? Do you need somebody who's a good financial expert? Do you need somebody who's a great marketing expert, YouTube expert, etc.? Okay. If you can't afford them to start off with, just start reading their fucking books. Come on. Lose the excuses, ladies and gents. Lose the excuses. The men of people said, oh, if only I could afford it like you, Lewis. If only I could do this. At one point, I could not afford it. I'll tell you now, at one point, I could not afford it. So what did I do? I read a book every 2 days. I studied it. If it was a great book, I would study it. I'd buy the audio book. I'd play it every second I sat in my fucking car. I would make sure that person is playing, and I was studying not just what they say, but I was also studying their language, their tonality around it. Because I get it that if those people have become successful, I just need to figure out what is underneath that waterline. What is going on in their brains that's making this happen? And that's what then led me on to do the psychology doctorate in organizational psychology, to figure out what makes successful people successful. So get the right foundations, ladies and gents. You need to have the right environment around you as well, the right network around you. If people aren't serving you in that network, then just keep them at arm's length, right? Because you're going to get a lot of opinions from people that aren't doing what you want to achieve. So just bear that in mind as well. Be careful who you let in to the gateway of your mind. So, the next one, exploring income streams. Okay, as we've mentioned, to become a millionaire, you're not just going to have to do one thing. Yeah, you're going to have to get good at an array of things. Become a generalist rather than a specialist. You can become a millionaire as a specialist, but if you look at the top doctors, how much are they making? Yeah, those doctors have been making 500K plus. Yeah, let's say a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon or something like that. These people are going to be making a lot of money, right? They're also going to get taxed a lot of money as well. So the actual income that they actually receive, net income at the end of it, might not be something that really you want to strive for. Okay, that's great. You probably find a lot of doctors have a bigger purpose other than money as well. So, what about for you guys listening that could be thinking, "Hey, I'm in my job here. How do I become a millionaire by being in my job?" Well, like the doctor has got their 40, 50, 60 hour week hour hour a week days set in already, so they may as well be really fucking good at it. Yeah. So why don't you get really, really good at what you do? And if you listen to the A Players and 100K Club podcast, it'll start to show you how you can start to get more and earn more from what you do in your day job. Now, secondly, you'll start to realize as your income increases, there'll be thresholds that you start to get taxed differently as well. So there's two things certain in life: death and taxes. So guess what? You probably need some good financial advice as well, a great accountant, and also a great financial advisor. If you're a high earner income and you're going on that journey, it would make sense. And you can get speaking with financial advisors. You can DM me if you want some connections to some great financial advisors that I use, and accountants as well. And you can start to get the right advice. So one thing that I really look for is the accountants that I use has got to have a really, really good tax advisor. Okay, because tax is always going to be there. You got to play the game of the tax. The rules change all the time, and you got to play it fair. So you want to make sure that you're using your money in the right ways, so it's the most tax efficient way, so it's a win-win. Okay. Now, exploring more income streams. You just spoke about your one job has got to make you a lot of money. And you can increase that by increasing your skills in it, and you can increase your network in it, and you can start to add more value to people's lives. I'm not going to repeat what I say in the previous episodes, but the quick overarching theme is the more value you add, the more you get paid. Now, secondly, think about what other income streams you've got. What about your household income streams? If you do have a partner, what about their income stream? Do you include it? Can you maximize it? Yeah. You see, there's a lot of things like if you listen to or watch ITV, the whole, it pisses me off really, because the world is full of, hey, this is how you can save. I know Martin Lewis on ITV in the UK talks about how you can save. I think he's a great guy. Why not? Why burn money? Why lose money when you can save it? However, what he doesn't talk about is how do you, and I'm sure he would, it just wouldn't fit well with the nation. Yeah. This is only for the 1% of the people like you guys that are listening to the A Players podcast. What do you do with that saving is the question. Where do you reinvest that? Rather than losing it, where do you reinvest that money now to start making more money? Well, first of all, from this podcast alone, you can see that investing in great people to help you get there would earn you more money, right? So it's great that people talk about saving, but what we want to be talking about really is how do we accelerate our current income? Yeah. So using the savings that you do make from the stuff that people, talk a lot about, then you can start to use that. Something else that social media really pushes as well is that you've got to be an entrepreneur. Complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. People in businesses make a lot of money as well. Employees make a lot of money, right? So don't listen to all this shit. You don't need to be an entrepreneur. You can be. If you look at the actual stats, most entrepreneurs make less than an average wage in America. So stop chasing that entrepreneur title. Be an actual entrepreneur is when you're investing in businesses. So investor entrepreneur is the goal that you want to do. What else can give you more income streams? Well, if you've got a home, you could start to Airbnb it. That's the thing lately. You look at people that buy houses. Well, they buy a house. You've got £25,000. You can times that by £400,000. You can buy a £100,000 house. The times it by 4, by the way, is because you can get a buy-to-let mortgage and you times it by 4. So you're quadrupling your money, and then the income from it, if you was to rent it out to a family, let's say it was £1,000, then £1,000 would be great. But with Airbnbs now, you can actually quadruple that because somebody will pay £1,000 a week for the house in the right location. And it's not just because it's a great holiday home or something like that. People need to work in certain places. Yeah. So they need a home when they've got to travel the country and have to have jobs in certain places. So there you go. £1,000 rent, £4,000 Airbnb. Yeah, there is expenses like management companies for it and things like that. But I'm just giving you some examples of extra income streams that doesn't include you having to go for this entrepreneur bullshit. Okay. Now, what other income streams could you do to become a millionaire? This stuff that I'm talking about here makes a lot of sense because it is tax efficient as well. You go and start your own small business for like a tenner, £10, you register it and away you go. A lot more tax efficient because as you approach that 100K, 200K, 300K, you're going to get taxed on it. So you might as well use it to buy more assets that can produce more income producing things, revenue. What else can you do? What about if you've got skills and you become so fucking good at something that people will pay you to teach them? Yeah. There's courses that you can do. You can run things just like what I do with the A Players and 100K Club. Why do I want to do it? Because I believe that this information isn't out there. I can't find it. I was never told it in my 20s. It was only until I started to hang around those people at that high level boardroom table, millionaires, that I started to follow in the same journey as them. And the reason why it doesn't work is because, especially in the UK, and people don't like to talk about money. They don't like to talk about money. It's taboo to talk about money. Yet everyone complains about their cost of living. Yeah. So start to add more rather than how do you save? Think about how do you add, right? Makes sense, but not many people are doing it. Why? Because they've been given bullshit stories by the media and also their families as well, because they want to keep them safe. Oh, look, I've heard so-and-so person went and did that and it was a complete failure. Don't do it. You'll have a heart attack when you're 50. Bullshit. Bullshit. If you're starting at 20s, think about the opportunity you got ahead of you. Personally, get really, really fucking good at what you do in your day job. Keep it. And the money that you get, because you're probably living at home or renting with a load of friends or something like that, your rent right now is probably 3 times, 4 times than it should be. So the money that you're getting from that, rather than going and spending it, pissing money up the wall when you go out clubbing and all this, bullshit, yeah, think about how you can invest that money. How much is a pint of beer now? £3 or £4. Yeah, go out on a night out, it's probably £50. You do that once a week, that's £200 a month. £200 a month can put you on a course that would put you as a leader in your fucking game, but in your own job that you're in right now. This is why I get really pissed off by this, by the way. And you could be probably in the top 1% in your industry if you really try within 2 years. But people won't do it. People won't do it. Yeah. Because they're being held back because they don't listen to this sort of content. Okay. They're following that one day I'm going to be a business owner. One day I will be an entrepreneur. The money that you would make from saving that £40, £50 on a night out to invest in yourself, if you could get yourself to a 100K a year job, which is possible by listening to these podcasts, yeah, even if it was a 50K a year job or a 40K a year job, guess what? That has started to pay off. And then you'll be thinking when you reach 100K, how do I hit 1 million? You see, these are the steps that you need to be taking. So, what have we spoke about so far? Setting the realistic expectations, building a strong foundation. How do you start to get new income streams? And I've given you some examples on there and hopefully cut through some of those bullshit beliefs you may have as well. So you got to develop that millionaire mindset. So I've talked about this on the previous podcasts as well. If you go and listen to the podcast with Stuart Walter, especially NLP and hypnotherapy practitioner, it will start to give you some of this. If you want to hang around more of the millionaires that we interview or the people that are achieving 100K net income, understand that. If you want to be a millionaire, by the way, first thing you need to do is go and learn about accounting. Yeah, just the overview. You don't need to be an accountant, but you need to understand how a P&L works and a balance sheet works. Because as soon as you do, by the way, you'll start talking the language of business, which will have a big impact on how you start to have those negotiations with your employee. So, hope you've had a lot of value from this. Look, you've got to start somewhere, right? And if this is probably aimed, how do you become a millionaire in your 20s? You mostly, it's 20-year-olds that are listening to this. Don't quit your day job. Go and do what you do really well, learn from it. And when you're ready, then you can start to create that second business or whatever you want to do, if that's the right thing for you. And then if you do want to follow that Ben Francis journey, you can go on that journey as well. But let me tell you, he'll have a lot of connections. Where do you think he's got those connections from? Yeah. Sitting at home watching Netflix? No. He would have been involved and networked at some time or some point. And one final tip I'd like to give you as well: make sure you play the cards you're dealt with. Don't try and play cards that you don't have. If there's an opportunity where you're in a business, you really enjoy it, and you've got great connections with some of the CEOs or some of the leadership teams, that's an opportunity. Yeah, that's an opportunity. If there are successful people within your business and you see them making a lot of money, whether no matter what level they are, go and hang around them more. Go and find out what makes them tick and just ask them, yeah, could you mentor me in helping me out some more? So it's really interesting that people just go, oh, it's okay for so and so. He was given this or he was born into this. Look, that mentality is the thing that will stop you anywhere. So you've got to always be thinking, who is that I am connected with? How can I start to learn from them? Okay. What about if you're not connected with anybody, right? What about if you've got absolutely fuck all at all? Well, let me tell you, you've already got great resilience. If you've got nothing already, you're used to building something from nothing. Okay. So just think, who can I go out there and start to connect with even more? Yeah. What sort of books can I read as a blank slate? Yeah. Just think about it. There is always an opportunity. Make sure you play the cards that you have. If you're thinking that, okay, I have got this opportunity, but I'm just going to ignore it and go and do my own thing because some fucker on Instagram has told me to go and do it, then you're not playing the cards you've got. If there's a great opportunity there, take it, run with it, and then figure out how you use that opportunity to also get the goal that you want to achieve. Yeah. Don't just throw your cards away. Check out the cards that you've got and then start to work out how you start to play the cards so you can become a millionaire too. If you need any help on this, then of course, as ever, leave some comments in the box or connect with me on LinkedIn and drop me a DM. And I can always start to give you a strategy session to help to show you how you can start to achieve the financial goals that you want to achieve. Be great.